So, episode 3, Bliss. And it's your boy Icon with a DC television review for you, going over some little penguin. And this is actually the Vic episode, but there is some penguin action in it. But before we get started, as always, hit that notification bell, like, subscribe to my channel, watch all my videos because we got a lot of great stuff coming up. Like I said, the penguin, and we got Agatha all along. We got Tomb Raider coming, and Superman and Lois started, so that the plate's about to be full. Plus, we got New York Comic Con. So anyway, now talking about the penguin. So it did start with Vic. It started with Victor. And we got the backstory to what Victor was doing right before the Riddler flooded Gotham. And I didn't know that at first. Like, I thought this was a scene in present day when Vic was just regularly going to visit his family. And then when we got there, it come to find out, like, mind you, I'm under the impression that we're in present day. I didn't know this was a flashback. I'm just like, the boy goes back to his neighborhood. He done got a girlfriend. He got a mama and a daddy. Like, he got a sister. And I'm like, where have all these people been for the last 2 episodes? And then we find out it was a flashback. This was right before the Riddler flooded Gotham. And apparently, Victor is half Dominican, half Mexican, because one of the writers of one of the producers, writers of the show, she's also Mexican, and she wanted to. Well, she's half Mexican as well, so she wanted to put that heritage in there. Now, here's one problem I do have with it. I have no problem with them, doing the Dominican-Mexican mix. It's cool. I'm perfectly fine with that. The thing about it is, Vic does not match his family. If you're going to do something like that, if you're going to have this boy who's like half Dominican and like half Mexican, he should match the rest of his family. Like, the actress that played his sister, you can look at the sister and you can see that she came from those 2 parents. So that was good casting. Vic does not look anything like his daddy, and he doesn't look like his nose is wider, his facial, like Vic looks more like black, like African American than he does compared to his family. So like, if his dad, because like the mom is the Mexican, the dad is the Dominican. If his father had more round features, it wouldn't have been that weird to me, but because his father has like straight, like pointy features, and the mom has straight, pointy features, I'm like, where'd this boy's nose come from and them cheeks come from? Because that shit doesn't match. Anyway, I just thought it was funny. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, it's not a big deal. But when it comes to like certain casting choices, like, it always makes me laugh. Like, even if you go back and watch Marvel's Cloak and Dagger, the actor that they got to play young Tyrone looked nothing like the actual like old Tyrone. I just thought it was funny casting. He goes into the family, come to find out, like, they're all there, and like his dad is a cook and he's a mechanic and everything. Him and his dad got into an argument, because he was just like, oh, he wanted him to be better than what he actually is, and he's just like, come on, Poppy. Apparently his stuttering, it's not a character trait. It's not something he does when he's nervous. That's something that he actually does. Like, the Victor character actually was born with a stutter. So, but he got into it with his dad because his dad was like, I don't like your friends that you're hanging out with and blah, blah, blah. And he was just like, yo, come on, Dad, just let me do what I do and let me be with my friends. So he gets mad at his dad. He leaves. He goes onto the roof. He's hanging out with his girlfriend, who apparently came out of nowhere. The 2 of them are on the roof. And then while the 2 of them are on the roof having a conversation, talking about life, love, and everything in between, that's when the Riddler's bombs go off, and that's when Gotham gets flooded. Unfortunately, because Vic was on the roof, he was able to look down to his apartment window where his family lived, and when the water came in, the water flooded the building, crashed into his apartment, and his family died because they drowned under the water, and there was no way that he could save them. So now, fast forward present day, that's how he started working for the Penguin. He started hanging around the wrong kids, and then that's when Penguin found him, and now he got all snatched up. So, but he's trying to, like, but the thing is, the reason why this was important is because the girlfriend, she's back. She's back into his life, and, he's just like, oh, I haven't seen you. She's like, I'm glad I found you. I haven't seen you in the neighborhood. And then the 2 of them start talking. She basically tells him that, listen, instead of her living in a FEMA camp because of the aftermath of the flood, she's decided to take a bus and go to school somewhere and get a job and start a whole new life. And she wants Vic to come with her. Vic was like, I want to, but he was like, I work for the Penguin now. And to be honest with you, he said he dead ass said he said, I just can't up and leave. She was just, because he was like, oh, my boss won't let me go. And then she was like, why won't your boss let you go? He was like, first of all, I know things. And when he said that, I started laughing. He was like, I know things. He said, I can't just up and leave. But then, because he was like, he literally said, he won't let me leave. And then the two of them started talking some more, and then he gave her some money because Penguin decided that Vic should get an allowance. So he gave him like a G, and he said, you're gonna get $1,000 a week. He gave the money to his girlfriend because she's not even, I mean, is she still his girlfriend? Like he basically gave all his money to her, and then he was like, oh, buy me a plane ticket. I'm gonna meet you at the bus stop, and we're gonna escape this life together. So now she's like, oh my God, Victor, you're coming with me. So now she's waiting for him at the bus stop, and he's trying to get into a position where he can tell Penguin he doesn't want to do anymore. So then Sophia Falcone shows up because now Penguin and Sophia, they're supposed to try to do the thing because remember, they're a team now and they're working together. Sophia meets Vic. She finds out that Vic can't operate a lighter like to save his life. And, he's just like, oh, like I'm Penguin's driver and everything. Sophia basically shitted on his apartment and his whole like way of living. And Sophia's starting to get into a mind frame now where she's starting to look at their dynamic, like her and Penguin's dynamic. She's just like, because Penguin's whole thing is like, oh, me and you can work together. We can be partners. And she's kind of like, we're not partners. She's like, you work for me. She said everything that's happening, this whole thing. And that's very offensive because how she treated him in the last episode and then went begging to him like, what do you say, Oz? Let's work together. Now all of a sudden she's like, you work for me. And I mean, I feel some kind of way about that. But in order for them to get the drug out on the street, they need a distributor. So they were going to go and talk to the Triad to see if the Triad wanted to be the ones to distribute the drug. Vic was supposed to be the driver to take them, to go see the Triad. But then Sophia was like, no. She's like, you're going to drive just like the good old days because she's in a mode where she's trying to put Penguin in his place because she's like, oh, you got a little bit too big for your britches. She's like, now you think you're a big time. You think you're the boss now. She's like, no, I'm the boss. So now she's trying to humble him by making him be her driver as they go to the Triad. They go to the Triad. They're talking to one of the young representatives of the Triad, and they're like, yo, we want a meeting with the boss. And then he was like, no, because he said that we don't really do business with the Falcones because the Falcones, like, chased us out of the city and just regulated us to Chinatown. And then he was just like, plus, I heard that you're beefing with your own family. And he said, we don't want to get in the middle of a war. But then they were just like, well, if somebody in the family gives the okay, would you set up the meeting? And then he was like, yes. So now Penguin has to figure out a way to try to get somebody in the mob to tell the Triad that it's okay to talk to him and Sophia. So what happens is they run up on Johnny because he's been trying to get rid of Johnny since the beginning of the show. They find out that Johnny's still banging the boss's wife. And Sophia and Penguin, they bust in the room, they tell the wife to leave, and then they basically strong arm Johnny, and they're just like, oh, I want you to call the Triad and tell them that it's okay to do business with me and Sophia. And then he's just like, oh, Sophia, you're working with the Penguin, and like you backed this loser. He's like, you're betraying the family and blah, blah, blah. And then he tells Penguin, he's like, oh, the reason why nobody wants you, he said, the reason why people keep you around is not because they think you're smart or because they think you're intelligent or because they think you know stuff. We keep you around for the entertainment because you're a fucking joke. And then Penguin got mad and shoved the cell phone down the guy's throat. And he's like, who's the joke now, motherfucker? So that's the whole thing when he was like, make the call or else you're going to be sleeping with the fishes. So he makes the call, and then he gets them a meeting with the head of the Triad. Sophia, but now Johnny knows that the two of them are working together, and I feel like he might try to be a bitch and like try to mess that that whole plan up. But then he can't really risk it because he is sleeping with. See, when Penguin and Sophia busted in the door, but he does have pictures. He has pictures from before, so he does have pictures. So anyway, so now they have the meeting with the Triad. While they're having the meeting with the Triad, they're basically distributing the drug in the club that the head of the Triad owns so he can see how well the drug is and how much money they're making. So Penguin ends up calling the hoes, and he brings the hoes back to be the ones to distribute the drug to all the people in the party. Vic is the supplier because he's the one that has everything. So they tell the girls that it's like, go out there, let's get this money. If you guys need to re-up on the drugs, like come see Victor. Meanwhile, me and Sophia, we're going to go talk to the head of the Triad. Sophia herself went to go talk to the head of the Triad because she's like, yo, I'm the boss, and Penguin, you work for me. And then the Triad guy, he was just like, yo, I don't want to go to war with the mob. And he was like, honestly, I wasn't even fucking with your dad like that. And then she said, well, I wasn't messing with him either because he said that he was like, when your dad died, he's like, I popped the bottle of champagne. And she was like, hey, and I danced on his grave. So so what are we doing? And then she spoke about how like her dad pushed her out of the drug game. And then she was just like, listen, she said that the drug is rooted in psychology and everybody wants an escape from reality. We then find out this whole drug, the drug is called Bliss. The drug that she's distributing amongst Gotham, that was a drug that was given to her when she was in Arkham. And she said that they gave them that drug to make them docile and to detach them from reality. She said it's the perfect drug to be on the streets. And I'm not a fan of her telling him that because if you just told this guy that your big marketing thing is a drug that you got when you were in Arkham, what's stopping him from going to Arkham and getting the same drug and selling it for himself? Like, why does he need you now? I thought that was a bad play by her actually telling him where she got the drug from. But anyway, but then she told him, she was like, listen, we could do big things. You could be our distributor. But she was like, at the same time, she was like, you ain't got to do shit. So she said, if it's really, she said, I was just coming to you out of respect. But if you don't want to do business, she said, I'll gladly go to any one of your competitors. She was like, that's not a problem for me. She said, I just wanted you to have first crack. But if you say no, you say no. You know, bada bing, bada boom. So then she goes away. She tells Penguin, then she said, either close the deal or don't close the deal. And then eventually he closed the deal because the guy was like, nah, I can't have you go to the competition. I want this drug. Now, earlier on, Johnny had made a comment when he was talking to Sophia about teaming up with Penguin. He was like, oh, you're going to team up with this lowlife after what he did to you. And then after the deal was made with the Triad, both Sophia and Penguin actually had that talk. And we come to find out that Penguin was the one that was responsible for Sophia going to Arkham. Because apparently something, at some point we're going to get a Sophia episode. It might even be the next episode. But from what I gathered based on that conversation, Sophia was basically like, I don't know if she was on drugs, if she was drinking heavy, if she was doing some like outlandish shit. Something was happening with Sophia where she was like on a downward spiral somewhere. Penguin basically ratted her out to her father, and her father decided to put her in Arkham because her father thought she was crazy. And she was like, oh, I know it was you, Oswald. And then he was just like, you know, he was like, oh, that was 10 years ago. And she's like, it doesn't matter, blah, blah, blah. They go through this whole thing. And then finally he was like, yeah, I did it. So what? You know, he was just like, yeah, he said, yeah, I did it. He was like, you know, because she was just like, oh, you sold me out just so you can get the club and become and have a seat at the table and everything. And he was like, yeah, he said, I'm successful. He said, I don't apologize for me being successful and for how I got here. He said, but I am sorry because I was your driver. He said, I used to work for you and I cared about you. He's like, I still care about you. He said, you meant a lot to me. You still mean a lot to me. And it broke my heart that I had to do that. And he said, plus, I didn't think your dad was going to put you in Arkham. He was just like, that was insane to me. And he's like, I didn't see that coming. But he sincerely apologized. Like he apologized. Like the two of them finally, you know, put that to rest. And now they're trying to figure out how they can move on. Vic now, he's at the club. He's trying to sell the drugs. He's trying to get the Bliss out on the street. And then there was a moment where he was talking to one of the hoes because one of the hoes needed a re-up. And then while he was trying to give her the re-up, fireworks started going off behind him. And that's when the PTSD kicked in. Because when the fireworks started going off, it reminded him of the bombs that went off the day that the town got flooded, and when his neighborhood flooded and the day that his parents died. So he started having a panic attack. He hit the floor, and then while he hit the floor, he dropped all the Bliss. Luckily, the girl who was with him, she picked it up, and she was like, yo, get yourself together. She was like, you just dropped the shit. You know, so then he started like freaking out. He's in the bathroom now, like hyperventilating. And then, you know, that's when Penguin comes in and he was like, yo, Vic, we did it. You know, we got the distributor. Everything's all good. And then that's when Vic tells him that he thinks he wants out of the life and he doesn't want to do it anymore. And then he brings up the girl, and then he's like, oh, you're going to leave me for some broad? He's like, you got an opportunity here. And then he was just like, that's when Vic was like, he was like, but I can't leave. And then Penguin got offended. He was like, what? He's like, you think you're a prisoner? He's like, you think I'm keeping you here against your will? And I'm like, you kind of are. like when he ran up on him in the first episode, he basically told him, you're going to drive me around or else. Like it was heavily implied that if Vic didn't do what he said, he was going to off him. Like that wasn't a secret, but he told him, he was like, yo, you can leave whenever you want. He's like, you're not a prisoner. But he said, but if you leave, what are you going to do? Be a nobody? You're going to be a loser? You're going to fight for scraps when you can be a king, when you can do like real things? You could be a big shot. And he was like, fuck that, Vic. If you want to go, go. Obviously, he's hurt because he likes the boy. But at the same time, he didn't want to feel like he was holding him there against his will, you know, like at the same time. So he's like, yo, you want to go? Fuck you. You know, and then Vic got mad and then Vic left. He was like, fuck you too. And then Vic stole his car. And Vic drove down to the bus station where his girlfriend was, and for some reason, his dumbass didn't get on the bus. I don't know if it's because he felt like having him around would hold his girlfriend back. I don't know if he thought Penguin made a point, and he was just like, yo, Penguin's right. I could actually do big things being a part of the mob. Whatever happened, it was never specified why he changed his mind, but he changed his mind. And he turned around, and he drove Penguin's car back to the club. Now, Penguin and Sophia, they're both outside. They're having a conversation, trying to repair their relationship and make amends. And this was the part that actually made me laugh. So Penguin and Sophia, they're outside. then Penguin is just like, oh, you meant a lot to me. You still mean a lot to me. He was like, like you deserve everything. I apologize. He was like, breaking our friendship broke my heart. He gives her this whole speech. And then while he's talking to her and giving her the whole "you're important to me" speech, the Maroney family shows up, and then when the Maroney family shows up, the chick who has the raspy voice, she's like, "Oswald, you betrayed us, you son of a bitch." And then they put the guns to her and Sophia, got them both on their knees, and she's like, "We're gonna kill you, and we're gonna kill Sophia Falcone." Vic sees this, and then he rams his car into the goons, knocks the goons out everywhere, and then during all the chaos, Penguin jumps in the car. Then when Penguin jumps in the car, he's like, "All right, Vic, hit the gas. Vic, hit the gas. Let's get out of here." And then he's like, "What about Sophia?" And he was like, "Fuck Sophia. Leave her there." And I was like, "You just told her that she..." Wow. Like, he literally just told her, "You mean everything to me. You still do." And the moment they got in trouble, he was like, "Hit the gas, bitch." And I was just like, I laughed so hard. That's crazy. And then he tells Vic, "Oh, we're both in it now." And I'm like, really? Like, okay. So this isn't going to end well because he basically left Sophia for dead. The Maronis want to kill him now. And I'm just like, where are we going from here? Like, this doesn't make sense to me. But it's still very entertaining. That was how the episode ended. And thank you for tuning in. So, yeah, that hit me for a loop. And like I said, I don't know what's going to, because how do you come back from that? It's like, as good as a talker as Penguin is, as good as a schmoozer as he is, you basically flat out just left Sophia Falcone for dead in the hands of the rival mob after telling her 10 seconds prior she means the world to you. This will not end well. But share your questions, comments, and/or concerns down below, and we will continue to talk about it. Check me out on social media. Check me out on X. Check me out on Instagram, Twitter. Well, that is X. Always on YouTube and TikTok, where you can leave your questions, comments, and concerns. Let me know what you thought about the Vic episode of the Penguin, how Penguin's going to get himself out of this hot water, because I don't see it. If this would have happened in the season finale, I would have been like, cool. The fact that this is episode 3, I'm like, nah, like, there's no way he's coming back from that. And there's no way Sophia is taking him back after that shit. But like I said, let me know what you think in the comment section, because we got some cool stuff going up. Tomb Raider is about to start, so we're going to review Lara Croft and Tomb Raider. My God, Superman and Lois started, and that shit hurt my heartstrings. More on that when the Superman and Lois review comes up. I'll definitely have that review up over the weekend, but goddamn, like, Superman and Lois stole the show, like, for the week. I'm just going to say it like that. And they had a 2-hour season premiere, so look out for both of those videos. And until then, we'll keep rolling on for some more superhero goodness, anime, and everything else in between. So that was it, guys. So thank you for tuning in. So until next time for some more Penguin action, take care. Don't take the bliss, because it'll detach you from reality. Until next time, we're out this bitch.